Hi everyone, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me so much of love by viewing my videos. I'm getting a very good response from everyone, and this is giving me a boost, to create more and more videos and publicly create the videos, and on such topics which are hidden but are very critical, from the security point of view, especially in today's world when the attacks and incidents are getting wider and wider, and every day we are seeing a new malware. Recently, I have seen a new malware in one of my friend's organization, where the malware was loaded in a PDF. Uh, it was a doubly embedded malware. One was in the QR code and one was in the PDF file. So in the PDF file, it is the uh, old malware technique where the attacker has embedded the the malware where it will connect to the attacker side. It will start dropping off the droppers into the machine, and the stubs will be running directly from the Windows memory, and taking the uh, reverse shell at the attacker's server. And as soon as the victim scans the QR code that is embedded inside the PDF, it was a technique used, and an email nginx server was running at the backend, where the attacker was able, and that particular phishing link was running with the email nginx server at the backend, was able to take the complete control of the OC65 account. So when were we performing when I was analyzing that particular malware, I identified that, that this is double embedded malware. And, we immediately blocked the IOCs. We extracted the IOCs from the PDF. We immediately block all the IOCs, and I did a full reverse engineering on that particular PDF. I'm planning to, create a video on that, maybe the next video on it. But today I have come up with a new topic, which is the Cyber Threat Intelligence Complete course. So, you have seen in my previous videos as well that I do not go left, right, or or up and down. I talk straight to the point. In simple words, I try to explain each and everything in as simple as possible. So in this course as well, I would like to keep each and everything very very simple, because this is a very critical course and this is a very critical topic as well, because we are seeing a lot of misconception about the cyber threat intelligence. People are comparing either with the IOCs, people are comparing with threat management portals, people are comparing this with SOC management, blue team, purple team, and whatnot. Cyber threat intelligence is not any of this, but it is the combination of each and everything. Okay. Few months back, I was giving one interview in an organization where the post included some part of cyber threat intelligence, and when we were having the discussion on this, the interviewer asked all the questions from SOC management, which is not acceptable at all. So it clearly shows that there is a full misconception in the market about the threat intelligence. Okay. So in this course, we will deep dive into threat intelligence, and I have also, and in the end, we will see a practical report how the cyber threat intelligence reports are being created. So I have taken the recent example, which one of my friends, they who are working, for multiple organizations and as an incident response team, they have actually created a big report on APT36 group, which I have not taken it from them, but this is my format in which when I create the cyber threat intelligence reports, I used to create reports like this. So we will discuss about this report, how these reports are being created, and what are the important factors that need to be taken care when you are creating the reports. So stay tuned. This is a very interesting video, but critical video, but we will try to grab as much as information out of it. but in the end, you will be able to learn about all the concepts of cyber threat intelligence, how to create the reports, for cyber threat intelligence for your organization, for public records, for how the cyber threat intelligence analysts, dig deep in the dark web or dig on the internet to identify these APT groups so that they can protect their organizations and 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 also their own if they are running some startups and all, against these APT groups. So let's start with, so what is CTI? CTI is CTI is the analyzed information about an adversary's intent, capabilities, and opportunity to compromise a target. It's produced from various data points and serves decision makers. So what is the data points over here? The very first is who is attacking. Like if your organization is being attacked, so who is behind that particular attack? For an example, is it APT28, FIN7, APT36, APT1, so, or maybe CTI, or the Russian groups who were behind the SolarWind attack. So who is behind all these attacks? Why? Is it because of some espionage, some financial gain, or maybe a script kiddie who wants to take some revenge from an organization, or just for fun? Okay. How? So how that particular attack is being taken out? Phishing, 0 days, maybe some exploited vulnerabilities that are present on their web application or mobile application, something with leaked data, and many other points. So where from? Is it from infrastructure or domains or some exposed applications, some exposed maybe S3 buckets, some exposed maybe AZ vaults, some exposed AZ VMs, what exactly, and what is the timeline of operations? Okay. So from the perspective of client, which we generally call it as consumer oriented CTI. So we define it into three parameters: client type, intelligence need, and CTI example. So if the client type is SOC analyst, his duty or his or her duty is IOC feed detection rules in the form of hashes, domains, Sigma rules for current malware campaigns, maybe some file names. Maybe we will see this in details in coming slides. Maybe in some form of maybe in form of some IOCs, maybe in form of some domains, hashes, URLs, email IDs, IP addresses, etc. If he is a threat hunter, then his intelligence need will be adversary TTPs and historical campaign analysis. So how these historical data will be collected, and it will be mapped to, for an example, MITRE mappings for APT10, hunting queries for beaconing traffic, and so on. If the client type is executive CISO, then it is very straightforward. Strategic threat landscape overview. It will be dealt into high-level threat report on ransomware trends and risk for Q3. If this is an IR team, then its main intelligence need will be attribution, malware reverse engineering, digital forensics, memory forensics, OS forensics, and so on. Maybe cloud-related things, and so on. So what will the CTI example here? Malware family identification, attack vector analysis. If the client type is government, okay, then actor attribution, geopolitical implications, espionage, countries rivalry, etc., etc. For an example, CTI on nation state campaigns, example, SolarWinds, Moonlight Maze, APT36 attacked India, and China's espionage in US, and or maybe Israel's espionage in Iran, and so on. So it all defines based on the customer or consumer for which we are writing the CTI. Okay. So always remember, the role of CTI is not similar to the role of what SOC managers or SOC teams does or the blue team does. but it completely depends upon who is the consumer and for this particular definition. So sorry, let's go to the introduction to CTI. Continue. So CTI is defined with three parameters. One, we call it as the cyberspace. The T stands for threats and I stands for intelligence. So what is cyberspace? Cyberspace is nothing but the operating train of CTI, in which means that cyberspace is a domain in which all cyber threat activities take place. It is composed of multiple interlinked layers. The very first call it as the physical layer, means the tangible components of networks and infrastructure. For an example, routers, switches, servers, network cables, data centers, uh, which means that an attacker physically tampers with the router or uses RF attacks on wireless routers like Wi-Fi pineapple attack. Then we have logical layer, means non-physical elements such as applications and protocols. Example, operating system, browsers, cloud services, communication protocols. For an example, exploiting Apache Log4j vulnerability in a cloud-based application that represents a threat at this particular layer. Another layer of CTI is information layer, means the data for what the attacker targets or manipulates. For examples, emails, chat messages, documents, databases, etc. Phishing emails that trick users into entering credentials or open weaponized documents, like for an example, macro-laden word files. Then we have the second definition of under CTI is threats. Threats is Threat could be the the state sponsored actor, or in simple terms the actor and their intent. Okay, for an example, I talked about whether it is a state sponsor, whether it is a script kiddie, or whether it is the internal employee who is taking the revenge, and so on. So what is a threat? A threat is defined as intention plus capability plus opportunity. Why? The motive or objective of the adversary. For example, cybercriminals want money, deploy ransomware, for example, lockpick. Or is it a nation state seek espionage that targets the diplomatic emails? Or these are the activists who want to disrupt or deface websites. What are their capabilities? Which is defined as how they use tools, tactics, techniques, procedures, which we call it as the TTPs in short. We will talk about this in very details when I'll come to the frameworks. For example, malware, deployment using Cobalt Strike or Mimikatz, exploiting the vulnerabilities such as CD 2021-44228, which is the log4 shell, or TTP's map to MITRE attack, example T1059, which is nothing but the command scripting. Opportunity, where and when. So this defines as the weakness or entry point that allows the threat to exploit. For example, misconfigured firewalls, unpatched vulnerabilities, users falling for phishing campaigns, and we have the third parameter in CTI, which is defined as intelligence, which means from data to decision. Intelligence is processed, validated, analyzed, and actionable information. CTI exists to serve decisions. Primary goal is facilitate the decision making process for defenders, CISOs, SOC teams, executives, or law enforcement. So what is the life cycle of CTI? Planning and direction, collection of data, processing, analysis and production, and then dissemination. Okay. So the very first is planning and direction, which is defined as the questions that CTI must answer. For an example, which APT groups are targeting the financial sector? What are the TTPs of Medusa ransomware? Second is collection of data, which means to gather the raw data from various resources such as taste bin dumps, Twitter IOCs, dark web, Malpedia, Malware Bazaar, or Alien Vault, etc., etc. Maybe some log collection using SIM, firewall, EDRs, proxies, cloud, etc., etc. And then we have the dark web scrapping. Then we have the third parameter in CTI lifecycle, which is the processing, which is defined as the structure and format data for analysis. For example, parsing IOC feeds, convert into sticks or JSON, de-obfuscation of malware strings. Then we have analysis and production, which is defined as turn process data into actionable intel. For example, APT29 uses spear phishing to drop well-mesh malware in government organization, which clearly map adversaries' infrastructure using passive DNS. Okay. Then in the last is dissemination, which is to deliver the complete threat intel to the right consumer in a proper format. Okay, for example, threat reports in the format of PDF or sticks, dashboards consumed from OpenCTI and MISP. This we will, in the series when we will progress further. I will talk about OpenCTI. It is so beautiful. We will configure OpenCTI and we will consume the data feeds from multiple resources on internet, and we will create the very very fast and very formable dashboards on the OpenCTI platform. Then alerts to SOC analysts via SIM. Then we have certain key terminologies, which is threat actor, which means a person, group, or nation state responsible for malicious cyber operations. Type of threat actors: cyber criminals who are financially motivated, engaged in ransomware, fraud, etc. The famous groups who are engaged in this are Lockbit and Quantai. APT groups, nation state or state sponsored, focus on espionage, sabotage, the APT28, APT28, which belongs to Russia, or APT10, which belongs to China. Activist ideology, motivated, deface, leak, or disrupt for cause. For example, anonymous group, Lulzak. Then we have script kiddies, amateur attackers using pre-made tools, without deep knowledge, defacing school websites. Okay. The second parameter is persona, which is the online identity or alias used by threat actor to remain anonymous. For example, these type of persona are used in dark web forums, on Telegram channels, initial access markets. This helps the CTI teams to track behaviors or link aliases across the various platforms. For example, a ransomware operator uses the persona take any name such as Shadow Spider on multiple RAS forums. Okay. Then we have intelligence requirements, which means the questions or the needs that guide the collection and analysis of threat intelligence. This is used to ensure intelligence is client driven, targeted, and relevant. For example, what TTPs are associated with the latest Logbit 3.0 campaign? Have any Russian APT group been observed targeting Latvia in past 6 months? Uh, and we can define the best practices, in incident response during planning and direction phase of the intelligence cycle. Okay. The next terminology in CTI is campaigns, a coordinated series of malicious activities aimed at a long-term objective. The key traits for this particular campaign will be multiple operations, for example, phishing, malware deployment, C2 communication, etc. And it might take time from weeks to years, to run those campaigns. For example, APT33 launched multiple spear phishing attacks targeting Middle Eastern oil companies over 18 months, which was part of a larger campaign for economic espionage. Okay. Then we have TTPs, which are defined as tactics, techniques, and procedures that helps the analyst to perform the analysis in actor profiling, defense hardening, and hunting queries. For example, the tactic is defined as the high level objective or phase of attack. For example, the initial access, execution, persistence. Then we have technique. Technique is defined as the method which is used to achieve the tactic. For example, spear phishing, which is defined under T1566, and credential dumping, which is defined under T1003. Then we have procedure, the specific implementation of the technique, which means for example, sending a malicious PDF via email spoof from, let's take an example, hr@targetcorp.com, which is mailing to hr@targetcorp.com. Okay. These TTPs are very, very helpful when it comes to define the actor profiling, hunting queries, or, hardening your defense parameters in your organization. Then we have another parameter named as intrusion, which we all know that it is an attempt by an adversary to compromise a system, whether successful or not. Okay. Why it is important? Because even failed intrusions provide valuable IOCs, TTP patterns, and threat insights. Now, this should be logged, correlated, and analyzed for trend detection. For example, multiple failed brute force attempts on SSH service could indicate a larger scan and exploit operation. Then, which is a very important protocol, with a very important terminology in CTI, which is defined as traffic light protocol, which is a color coded system for managing information sharing boundaries within and across organization. For an example, it is defined as like, if I talk about TLP red, this is restricted to specific organization or groups, sharing sensitive information, impacting privacy, safety, or operations, which clearly says do not share outside original recipients. Then we have something called as TLP Amber, which is limited disclosure within the recipient's organization only, which may impact operations if shared widely, which clearly say internal use only. Then we have Amber plus strict, which means that only that the information should only be shared with specific partners, custom sharing restriction to subset partners by agreement only. Then we have green, which means that share with the peer organizations in the community, valuable for community defense, peer and trusted partners sharing allowed. White, which means publicly shareable, no risk in disclosure, may publish or post. Okay. There is a very good website which is called as first.org/TLP, which I would request everyone, to go and understand and learn about this color coding, because this color coding is going to help you to define your reports. Okay. Then we have, of course, IOCs, which are known as indicator of compromise, which is nothing but a technical artifact which is linked to malicious activity, especially useful for detection and hunting. The types of IOCs could be many type of IOCs. For an example, hashes, IP addresses, domains, file names, email addresses, registry keys, and etc. etc. Now, what is the use of the IOCs? These can be feed into your SIM, EDR, firewalls, YARA Sigma detection systems. Now, these are the CTI models. I know you all know about these CTI models, but these CTI models play a very important role when it comes to, defining your, what we call it as, when we are creating the reports and mapping the type of attack that we are looking for, or the type of consumer we are going to define for. So, the very first is, you know, is the cyber kill chain. The second is diamond model. The third is MITRE attack framework, and the fourth is pyramid of pain. So we will look for all these CTI models. The very first is your cyber kill chain, which is defined, which was developed by Lockheed Martin. The purpose for this is to map the stages of a cyber intrusion to detect and disrupt at each stage. What is the goal for defenders? Stop intrusion as early as possible before actions on objective. The whole goal of CTI team is to stop the attack before it is taking place. So when you are taking SOC from any organization, make sure you ask that particular organization that what is the model of your CTI that you are following in your organization, so that whenever they are sending you reports, you should be able to feed those reports in your SIM or firewall in the particular format only. Okay. So what are the stages of cyber kill chain? The very first is the recurrence, in which the adversary collects data about the target, for example, scanning for open ports. Second stage is weaponization, malware or exploit package creation, which means creating a malicious PDF exploit, delivery, transmission to victims via some spear phishing, exploitation, triggering the vulnerability, user opens malicious attachment, installation, malware installs a backdoor, dropper installs remote access tool. Then we have command and control, which means attacker establishes remote control, malware connects to C2 server, and then we have actions on objectives, which means executes final goal, which means data theft, destruction, for example, data exfiltration to attacker server. A real life example, emotet intrusion. In one of my videos, I have showcased emotet analysis. Please go and watch that video. It is actually based on the cyber kill chain analysis model only. So the very first thing that we did was recon, collected target original emails, example through prior phishing, weaponization, packed macro-enabled Word doc. We did it on macro-enabled Excel file, which was completely hidden and which was not getting detected by any EDR solution. Then delivery, spear phishing via invoice threaded themed email, exploit, user enables macros, install, emoted downloaders, install trickbot. Then we have C2, beacons to hard-coded C2 IP. And what are the actions? Data theft, ransomware deployment, for example, Rio. Second model is the diamond model. The diamond model includes your adversary, capability, victim, and infrastructure, which was developed by Caltagirion. Apologies for my pronunciation. Pentagris and Betts in 2007. What was the purpose? Analyze the relationship between adversary, capability, infrastructure, and victim. So these types of models, it all depends upon the consumer type. Okay. So when we will look for the report, these models will make more sense to you. Okay. What are the core elements? Adversary means who is the threat actor or group behind the particular attack. For example, APT28. What is the infrastructure? C2 domains, compromised servers, for example, maillogin.ru. Victim, targeted entity, for example, government of Ukraine. Capabilities, malware exploits, example, X agents, spear phishing. Real life APT28. Adversary is APT28, fancy beer. Infrastructure domains like updates.office365 portal.ru. Victim was NATO defense contractors, and it has the capability to deploy it via spear phishing with macro laced docs, X agent malware. Now, how it is useful in CTI? It helps in attribution, tracking campaigns, pivoting, for example, reuse of infrastructure across victims. So, the third model is the MITRE framework, which is very popular and we all know. And I personally use MITRE framework a lot. After after cyber kill chain, when I identify how the cyber kill chain is working, I use MITRE framework a lot and lot in my organization as well, because it helps me to keep track of each and every incident that is taking place. Now, currently it is being maintained by MITRE Corporation. Why it was developed? Because of the taxonomy of the real world adversary behaviors and to understand their TTPs. Public resource is this. I don't know why I mentioned it twice, but take it as one only. Structure, tactics, why means objective, techniques, how, which means method, sub-techniques, specific implementation. So tactic is, for example, initial access, technique uses phishing, sub-technique, spear phishing attachment, and this is the your uh, TTP complete number. Okay. Then we have execution, command and scripting, which is under the PowerShell. Then we have persistence, which is via the registry keys. Then we have defense evasion, which is via obfuscated files. Then we have C2, which is application layer protocol, which means HTTPS. Now, how it is used in CTI? It is helpful to keep track of adversary trends. For example, APT29, which heavily uses T1059.001. It maps threat reports or similars to known techniques. It helps defenders to write Sigma YARA rules aligned with known TTPs. Now the toolkits that are being used here are MITRE AT&CK, Navigator, Threat Mapping in MISP or OpenCTI. And our last model is the Pyramid of Pain, which was created by David Bianco. Purpose: demonstrate the difficulty and impact of detecting different indicators. The pyramid of pain is defined as hash values. Well, it actually defined from down to bottom. I forgot to add the arrow, but you can keep it at like this. In the bottom, we have TTPs, then we have host artifacts, network artifacts, domain name, IP addresses, hash values, etc., etc. So the level is structure is from bottom to top, as I have mentioned it. The level is hash values, specific file fingerprints, chain of adversary low, IP addresses C2, expel points low, domain name short-lived, disposable moderate, host artifact registry keys, file paths moderate, tools malware families, frameworks, for example Cobalt Strike high, TTPs behavior patterns very high. So what are the use case in CTI? It focuses on detecting TTPs, for example, lateral movement via WMIC, which is your Windows management instrumentation, okay, something like that, which is very much used in when we are doing the lateral movements, because, for example, PA sessions, are not being, are being used, to log in from one machine to another. So WMIC helps a lot along with the same instance, but it is highly detectable. But there are ways to bypass it. In many of my malware videos, I have showcased how we bypass the EDRs, for example, using code caving and all. The WMIC was being used a lot when we are developing malwares who has to perform the lateral movement once the machine is compromised rather than focus on detecting the TTPs, lateral movement via WMIC rather than just static IP addresses. YARA rules and behavior analytics help hit the top of the pyramid and better long-term defense. So summary, CTI model comparison. So cyber kill chain, it focuses on the stages of intrusion, best for incident response, detection and strategy. Diamond model, which gives the relationship between the threat actor, infrastructure, capabilities, and victim, which is best for attribution, campaign tracking. MITRE attack and framework, which focuses on adversary TTPs in matrix format, which are best for threat hunting, red teaming, blue teaming, purple teaming, etc. And then we have the pyramid of pain, which focuses on detection value of indicators, which is best fit for prioritizing the IoT hunting, proactive defense mechanisms, etc. Now we will look for the primary analysis demo for APT36, which was recently very much active when the India-Pakistan war was going on. So what they did, how they did. So I have created a full PDF report. So the format of the report is varied uh, from one organization to another, but I like to keep things simple, to the point, straight. So and short, so that everybody understand this. But there I have seen many APT reports which are, or the CTI reports I call it in short, CTI reports, which are detailed, but they are very boring. People lose interest in reading it. It's like a magazine reading, which will of no use to any organization. So keep your CTI reports very simple, so that it gives the primo analysis for each and every point that you want to discuss. So the report says the name of the report. It is based on the APT36, which is also known as transparent tribe. So the modus operandi for this APT36 is the cyber espionage group targeting Indian defense and diplomatic assets. So you always start with executive summary once you define the modus operandi of this group. APT36, also known as transparent tribe, mythic leopard, Project M or Operation Sea Major, is a Pakistan-linked APT group which is active since 2013. The group primarily targets Indian military personnel, diplomatic missions, and research institutions. It leverages honey trap tactics, micro-enabled maldocs, fake domains to deploy spyware and rats, notably Crimson Rat, Oblique Rat, and Rat for cyber espionage. Then you define the targeting profile. What are the targeting sectors? Military and defense personnel, diplomatic entities, research organization, defense contractors, and conference attendees. Which are the targeted countries? Primarily India, but it has also affected Afghanistan, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, China, Germany, Iran, Japan, Kenya, Malaysia, Mongolia, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, UK, US, and many more. Because this is a state-sponsored group, it is usually for cyber espionage, so you can expect some other countries as well. So what are the attack vectors and infection chains? Honey trap and spear phishing techniques, fake CVs, using fake CVs, conference invitations, health advisories, etc., which were sent via spear phishing emails. Emails often impersonated Indian government agencies. So this is the infected chain diagram. User clicks on phishing emails. It opens a malicious document. It enables the macros. Visual Basic script execute malicious action. Trojan downloads the rat on the machine using either it could be Crimson, NGRAT, or something else, and then it establishes a connection. The rat communicates with using the command and control center, and then the data exfiltration begins. Now, what are the example layout themes? Defense logistics report, 7 fake commission updates, COVID-19 advisories, fake dating profiles such as honey traps, etc. Now, technical analysis, rats and tools, Crimson Rat, which is used for key logging, webcam, spying, credential theft, data exfiltration, etc. We have Oblique Rat, which is delivered via malicious images, links from spoofed Indian sites. This was seen recently, and it is a very interesting way they were trying to compromise the Indians by uploading an Android application on the Play Store using Smash app, which was which was specifically targeting the military for honey trapping. It is used as some dating site. It has a dating capabilities, and a lot of cyber espionage happened because of that. They deploy NGRAT, Pazog, Pepirat, etc., which are alternative payloads for different victim profiles. Dark Comet, Luminosity, a USB bomb, which is additional espionage tools which were used in this arsenal. So this is the Crimson Rat architecture. I gave it as just as an example that victim executes Smalltalk, Crimson loaders, directory creation, LDCAR, UI base, OS detection and download correct zip, extract and execute payload, C2 communication, modules activated, keylogger, screen grabber, browser stealer, USB, scan. So what are the key modules? Keylogger, which was stored in app data and media. Credential stealer, which extract the passwords from Chrome and Firefox. USB module, which scan or remove the USB data. PEPI module, which uses the HTTP ports for file uploads. And downloader module, which is used schedule logic to fetch for the payloads. These are just some sample IOCs which I prepared, such as malicious domains, malicious URLs, IP addresses, some hashes, malicious emails, email IDs, etc. Then I wanted to discuss about this. So the APT36 group, what they did, they created an Android spyware attributed named as Mesh app, which was disguised as a dating social media app, which was used to track military personnel movement, intercept SMS calls, extract photos and files from infected devices. And in the end, you must give the recommendations, block IOCs, awareness training, endpoint monitoring, patch management, and incident response. And in the end, you should also give the references. Okay. Now, this is the very straightforward, CTI report, which I wanted to showcase. In the next video, I will showcase you the report for solar winds and some other CTI groups, and we will also look at installation of the OpenCTI platform, which will be configured with certain other modules to create, which will ingest the feeds from multiple areas, and then and then it creates a very beautiful dashboard which is used for multiple trackings. Okay, so why this report was being shown? For an example, you're working as a SOC team, SOC team member, you're working as a CTI analyst, and your SOC leader comes and tells you, hey, there is APT36 group is trying to target the is very prominent these days. So I want you to collect the data as much as you can, prepare a report on that. Or a customer comes and tells you that they have received an email as a threat email and from APT36 group, and they want you to create a full detailed report about the APT36. So this is how you create the reports on CTI. Now my reports are simple, straightforward, which only talks about the actual thing. It doesn't gives you mumbo jumbo screenshots. It doesn't. I generally don't. I take the screenshots for example phishing emails or certain things, but I generally don't like to put some mumbo jumbo images or which is of no use to anyone. Okay, so keep it simple, keep it straight, keep it important. So so that everyone finds your reports reading interesting. Otherwise, it's just a page in the bad side. I hope you have liked my video. Uh, in the next video, we will look for some other APT reports, and we will also try to engage ourselves in installation of OpenCTI and ingesting certain feeds from some other places, and so that it is helpful and you can create it in your organization as well, and it is helpful for everyone. So thank you everyone. I hope you have liked my video. If you are liking my videos, please do like, subscribe, and share. It really gives me a boost, to create more and more stuff like that.